Hey, how y'all doing out there? Back at you again with another video. Today I like to do a look back at the Note FE, meaning the Fan Edition, otherwise known as the Note 7. But we want to look at it, how does this phone, how does this phone performs, or how is it in 2020? Now, we know that the actual Note 7 came out in 2016. This phone was released in 2017, not too long after the Note 8 was released. Now, some people question why did they even bother releasing this phone when, it had as the Note 7, it had the battery issue where the battery was, catching on fire and everything like that. So they recalled them. And of course, you had some people that, Samsung wanted them to return the phone, and of course, some people didn't return it. So they sent out updates to try to break the phone, try to get it where it wouldn't fully charge the battery, just different ways to force people to give the phone in. But some people were so in love with the phone that they kept it and wouldn't allow them to auto update the phone. And, they tried all kind of things to keep their phone, which I can't blame them. I mean, it's their device, it's their money. They were willing to take the risk in keeping it and worrying about it catching fire or not catching fire. That was their choice. But anyway, but after that debacle, Samsung came out with the Note FE, I think a few months after the Note 8 was released. And it's basically the Note 7. It just has a slightly smaller battery. The actual Note 7 had a 3500 milliamp battery. This phone has a 3250, I believe, milliamp battery. So that's really the only difference. Everything else is exactly the same. All right, so how does this phone stack up? How does it match up with the newer phones today in 2020? Well, let me just give you a quick rundown of the specs of this particular device. So you have this phone has Gorilla Glass 5. It has a 5.7-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display. It has expandable memory up to 256 gigs. It's IP68 water and dust resistant. It has HDR10, always on display. It has Android 9 Pie. Unfortunately, it won't get any more updates. It has the One UI 1.0. It has Samsung Pay, 64 gigs of internal storage, 4 gigs of RAM, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which is always great for me. NFC, fingerprint sensor is on the front of the device. This is when fingerprint sensors were still on the front. It has an iris sensor, face unlock, 3,200 milliamp battery, not 3,050, like I said earlier. Sorry about that. You got face unlock, you got wireless charging, 15-watt fast charging, heart rate monitor, edge panels, edge lighting, headphones in the box, the Exynos 8890 octa-core processor that's on this particular phone. Yeah, Bluetooth, I think 4.2. I don't think it got updated to Bluetooth 5.0, I don't believe. With the cameras, you got one single rear camera. This is when Samsung just only had one rear camera. Got a 12 megapixel wide optical image stabilization, shoots in 4K at 30 frames per second. It also shoots at 1080p at 30 and 60 frames per second and 720p at 240 frames per second. With the selfie camera, you got a 5 megapixel wide, shoots at 4K at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, and 720p at 30 frames per second. And of course, you have the S Pen. Now, I like this phone. It has excellent build quality. And you can see just based on all the things that I just mentioned, it's fully loaded. I mean, it has pretty much everything that my newer Note has, except it doesn't have reverse wireless charging, things like that. Doesn't have 3 cameras. There's only some things that are really different. My newer phone doesn't have the iris sensor. My newer phone don't have the heart rate monitor. So this actually has some things that my newer phone don't have. Now this phone, as you can tell, what I just read off to you, and that doesn't even count all the features and everything, but this phone is fully loaded. It was a flagship phone when it was released, and it's loaded with features and, great software and everything. And to me, it's still a really good device. It has excellent build quality, Gorilla Glass 5 on the back. See, you have your 12 megapixel camera. You have your heart rate monitor back there. You got, laser focus and your flash and all of that. Power button here. Volume rockers up and down there. You have your one speaker down here, your USB Type-C, your headphone jack, and your S Pen. Okay, so overall 5.7 inch. You have your always on display, as you can see here. Fingerprint sensor is on the front, along with your iris sensor. Now, it's not super fast, but it does work. All you got to do is touch it. It usually comes right on. Iris sensor can be a little iffy. And I'm sorry, it doesn't have face unlock. It just has the iris sensor. So I do apologize for that mistake. But this phone still has a beautiful, beautiful display. Let me turn the brightness down a little bit. You know how I do when it comes to brightness. I want everything super bright. So this phone still has a Quad HD Super AMOLED display. As you can see, the bezels at the bottom, bezels at the top, you know, kind of big, but still the display being as beautiful as it is makes up for that. You know, the battery life is not the best. I believe it'll get you through a full day. You can't use it too heavy like you would these newer phones because you'll end up running out of juice. But, you know, I think it'll get you through a regular work day. I do believe that without a doubt. I still like this phone a lot. You know, think about this. It's still IP68 water and dust resistance, wireless charging. It still takes, you know, pretty good photos. You know, and you got expandable memory. You got HDR10. I mean, it still offers a lot, you know, for this phone to be as old as it is. And Samsung, now normally this wouldn't have got updated to Android 9, but because of Samsung is so loyal to their fan base, instead of leaving this at Android 8, they gave us Android 9 and One UI. Because initially, this phone, if it was still the regular Note 7, it would not have gotten Android 9. But out of respect for the people that really love this phone, and Samsung being who they are, they updated it to Android 9. Now, I wish it would have gotten Android 10 because it would have got One UI 2.0, which would have been even better. And also, it would have gotten the dark mode, which I wish was on here so bad because I love using the dark mode on this particular device. Now, I know everybody's not in the dark mode, but it's just so much easier on your eyes. So I really like dark mode. Now think about this. You're still getting Samsung Pay because you're only getting 4 gigs of RAM, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. You're getting that headphone jack, you get NFC, you're getting that iris sensor. You know, you're still getting a lot. You still got fast charging, edge panels, edge lighting, you know, all these things I love. You're getting headphones with it, and you're getting a decent pair of cameras along with the S Pen. And you know, the S Pen is what separates this phone from any other phone on the market. Now, for some of you, this phone is just too old. The software is too old. Now, for me, what I've noticed, excuse me, is that the phone has slowed down a little bit and it can be a little laggy. But if you want to speed it up and make it run a lot faster, this is all you have to do, basically. And this is what I did, and I'll show you in a minute. So you go into settings, you scroll all the way down to About Phone. You scroll up, and as soon as you go to Software Information, you click on that, then you see where it says Build Number right here. See where it says Build Number? You just press that like 7 times, and then it says you're a developer. Brings up developer options. You go back. See right here? Developer options. You click on that. Sorry, let me turn that back off. And you scroll till you get to animation scales. Let me show you what I did. Okay. See right here, it says window animation scale, transition animation scale, and animation duration scale. I went and turned all of those off. So that's going to basically speed your phone up. Now, if you turn it back, now it's set by 1x on default. You know, it handles how fast your phone is, how it gets in and out of animations. But with the animations off, it's just going to go right into the application, which is going to make the phone a lot faster now. It was on 1 in default, but it was just too slow and laggy. So I put it on. I tried 0.5x, it was still too laggy and slow, so I just turned the animations off altogether. Then when I did that, I want you to show you what I did now. Just to show you, I got all the apps. I got nothing running in the background. It's empty. Okay, no recently used apps. So now I'm going to start touching and let you see how fast that I got it to go. See, boom, no animation, just right into it. Right into it. Okay. It wasn't moving like this when I had it on 0.5. It was still way too slow. And you know, when you have a newer phone and you're used to how fast it runs, it's hard to go back to something that's super slow and laggy. It's just hard to do that. It gets in and out stuff pretty quickly now that I turned off all the animations altogether. Because before this, it was pretty slow. It was definitely slow. Nowhere near this fast. See, now it's just like, it's really, really fast. Now, I know some people like animations, but when you have a processor that's this old, you just gonna have to do what you have to do, unless it doesn't bother you for it to be slow and laggy. Now, you know, some people it might not even matter, but as you can see, it runs pretty quickly now. Some apps may still open a little slow, but you know, that's just to be expected. So it's better now that I turned the animation scales completely off. So I still like this device. It has one down firing speaker. It's not that loud, but you can add speaker booster to it to make it sound even louder. The sound is not horrible, but you know, that's just the way the sound was at that time. They hadn't gotten the dual stereo speakers. And of course, Samsung has made their speakers a little bit better every year, a little louder, because my Note 10 Plus speakers are excellent. They're very loud and they have very good sound quality. So you're not going to get the best sound quality out of that one downfiring speaker. Now, when it comes to the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, you are going to get good quality audio sound out of the headphones and out of Samsung's DAC. They do have a DAC built into the phones. Not the best, but it's going to give you good quality sound. I've always liked Samsung's sound quality with the audio. Now, it's not on the level of an LG because, you know, they got the 32-bit hi-fi quad DAC, but it's still pretty good and I like it. All right, so basically that's my little mini review of the Note FE, a.k.a. known as the Note 7 in 2020. I think it's still a decent phone to own, and I got it more for nostalgia sake because I always wanted the Note 7, so I always wanted the phone. It still runs a little over 200, and I think you may be able to get it for less than that, maybe on eBay. eBay is going to give you the best prices for this particular device if you still want it, you know, to have it for nostalgia or history's sake or, you know, whatever reason you still want it. But I definitely wanted to check out this phone. And right before I was going to purchase it, that's when they all got recalled. So I wasn't able to get it, you know, the original Note 7 because they all got recalled. But this is basically the same thing, just with a lesser battery. So, you know, could I suggest you pick this up? Could I say, should you pick this up? I have to say no, only because how old the software is now. But if you don't care about that, if the software is not the biggest deal to you, I'll say go ahead and pick it up. You know, if you prefer the old school Note, which is what this is, it's the old school Note. I say go for it. You know, but if you don't want to deal with that slowdown and the lag, I would go into developer options, turn off all the animations, and it'll run pretty quickly. You know, for you. It's not going to be super smooth or nothing like that, but it will run quickly for you. All right. Once again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to view this content. I do appreciate it. And big shout out to everybody, you know, that's going through this situation. I hope and pray that your families are keeping safe as possible. And unfortunately, to those that have lost loved ones and friends, my sincere, deepest sympathy to you all. And you are in my prayers. God bless you all. Until the next time, I'll check you guys out in the next one. Peace.